to the Taliban or anything like that. But the point is you will see a resistance like that. You will see that kind of a hardcore resistance in the United States. But it is my hope and prayer that you can avoid doing that by having enough of the military and police simply side with what's right. Side with the Constitution, side with the Bill of Rights, side with the Declaration of Independence, and do what's right. If
I hear you.
That, we win.
Let me just ask you this final question. I don't know if you've seen Road to Tyranny, but I'm going to do a piece next week or something with it, because it's a 10-year-old film, came out right after 9/11, and it's footage that I was sent by police and defendants and others. But I have FEMA in Kansas City saying George Washington, Thomas Jefferson are terrorists, America's bad, all this. I mean, and you think you're watching a Monty Python movie. It's not a joke, though. You know, like an absurdist police state where they say breathing is evil, you know, and the police are there agreeing with it. And then I have sent to me months later, that was in Kansas City, from Virginia, Abby Newman, pulled over at a checkpoint. They want to search her. She says no. They grab her out. She doesn't resist. They charge her. And then they find a Harrison Ford video she'd rented, and it was Patriot games. The word Patriot freaks them out, and they don't even know what Harrison Ford is. I mean, it's like a joke. Like, it'd be funny if it wasn't. Like, you're watching this from their squad car as they dig through her trunk 10 feet away with mics on. And the guy and the supervisor's talking to him, and they go, "She's got a pocket Constitution." And they're going, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible. I can't believe she's got this." And they're like, "Is this legal?" And they're going, "Oh, I can't believe," and they're acting, I mean, for me, that'd be like somebody who'd been in a North Korean brainwashing camp for 20 years, who'd been tortured every time they were shown a Constitution. I mean, how did they find, these are like rednecks, how did they find men who are, I mean, I don't even believe this is real is what I'm saying. It's so alien that obviously they've sworn an oath to this. This is what America's based on. This is why we're supposedly special. And they're arrest some woman and a veteran, no criminal record at a checkpoint because she has a Constitution. I mean, and they have to have a debate about, is it allowed? I mean, for people that haven't seen the video, it's online, it's free everywhere. People get the DVD from us. It doesn't matter. The point is that these guys are under mind control. How do they get them to this point?
Well, public school. I mean, look at the Occupy people. Look at the ignorance displayed there. Look at like Adam Kokesh went out and interviewed some of those people and asked them basic questions. You know, look at the stuff that Jay Leno does when he goes and talks to people on the street. They don't know who we fought in World War II. They don't know why we fought in World War II. They don't know, they're just ignorant of our history. And this is the product of public schools. And so, yes, you have ignorant people both in colleges. You have ignorant people in the Tea Party who support what McCain's doing right now. They support what Bush did when he was gutting the Constitution and wiping his rear with it. And you have cops who are ignorant also. It's a product of public schooling. That's why we have an ignorant population.
Yeah, they don't know what the document is. They don't know it's what they swore to. And so they've been taught by the ADL Southern Poverty Law Center, we got the man, that it's bad. They tell them, Constitution, cop killer, cop killer. That's what they tell them in the drills. Right. People that talk about the Constitution want to murder you. So they're like, oh, we found it. I mean, it's still, they're that dumb.
Well, that ignorant. I wouldn't say they're dumb. But
they're ignorant. You're right. They're just purely ignorant.
Lacking in knowledge. Right. And so this is why the truth is the answer. You know, it's an antidote. One drop of truth is an antidote to a whole bucket of nonsense. And so we have to keep spreading the truth. But the question is will we have time to reach them all, or will we run out of time? Last thing I want to do is have to fight against people who think they're doing the right thing but are doing exactly the wrong thing. And that would be really just a horrible future for us.
Well, they're not just tasering and beating innocent people, though. It'll get them to start thinking a little bit. But you know, Stuart, looking at this, as you said, humans just repeat the same thing over and over again. And now it's happening here. I mean, it just goes to show that if a bunch of wild frontiers people that were in constant wars were being bullied around by the redcoats, what's going to happen to a bunch of fat, dumb, and happy people who think everything's fine? Of course crooks took over. Of course they're going to try to set up the worst tyranny possible. They've committed a lot of crimes. They've got to secure those crimes. If there's a peaceful revolution, they're all going to go to prison. That's why they want violence. That's why I think we should try to avert it at all cost.
Well, until the point is reached where you reach the Solzhenitsyn point, where you should have resisted and you should have fought back because you're going to wind up in a camp. And so I wouldn't say, avoid it at all costs. I'd say it's the last option.
Well, no, I'm saying at all costs up until defense. Sure, they're driving around in black trucks grabbing the Patriots. I mean, well, obviously there's no...
And here's the point I want to make to John McCain and the rest of them. It's a two-way street. What you're doing is sticking your arm down a badger hole, because when you strip away the protections of the Bill of Rights from the American people, like you said earlier, Alex, there's a 30% of the population who is awake and aware, and they're not going to wait for you to just come get them in the middle of the night. They're going to consider you, John McCain and Senator Levin and the rest of you, they're going to consider you to be what you consider them, a military enemy. And so if you open that door and leave them no protection, no security, no knowing that they have a chance to face their accusers in a trial before a jury of their peers, if you strip that away, what you're really stripping away is a last reason they have to hold back. You've given them no recourse. And that's what I worry about, is that more, when they reach that point, it's going to open that door and we will be shoved through and have no choice.
Well, the reason you're right is I've had to think about this. And at the moment they're going around like the NKVD grabbing families and stuff, I mean, you don't have a choice. And then you don't just wait and deal with the stupid steroid thugs that come. It's the criminals giving the orders that have to be brought to justice.
Well, that's what rule will be. I mean, King George was across the seas. The current crop of would-be tyrants is in Washington, D.C. They're on our own soil. And so in that sense, it'll be a little bit different. I don't want to say much more than that, but the point is that they're opening a door that it goes both ways. If they're going to treat the American people like an occupied, conquered civilian population like Iraq or Afghanistan, then the American people will treat them like occupiers. They will treat them like military foreign occupiers. They will be treated the same.
Well, that is what's happening. I mean, they are saying we're occupied by Northcom, we're the enemy, and as Lindsey Graham said, yes, U.S. citizens are targeted and America's a battleground. And he's this little, I don't even want to say effeminate because women aren't weak like that, this little Nelly, pasty creature. But then McCain is actually a veteran and has been under the Viet Cong tyranny. I mean, to watch him, he really is a piece of trash.
He is. Whatever. I mean, he's long ago abdicated in he doesn't deserve any respect at all whatsoever for anything he did in service, because he's betrayed his oath. I consider him a traitor, and like I said, I don't use that term lightly. He should be tried for treason and then suffer the sentence.
Well, it is treason to overthrow habeas corpus, everything. I mean, this is the hallmark of a tyranny. Last question. This is the last, because we're at 45 minutes right now, and I know you're busy, and we've got some financial news coming up as well. Talking to the members and the folks that are involved with Oath Keepers, the police, the military that you talk to, what is their sense of what's going on?
Most of them that I talk to are concerned that we are in the last breath before the plunge. Quite a few of them are concerned that that's where we are. We're on the edge of the chasm, and they're very concerned that we're going to cross and have no recourse but to do the same as our founding fathers, and they don't want to do it. They don't want it. But that's what they feel. I talk to them across the country, and they're just. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is, some part of Lawson try to say we're all conspiracy theorists. This is. I encourage everybody to go read my paper and then go look at what's happened since. I wrote that in 2004. I predicted what's happening now. It's legal. It's right there in your face in Supreme Court cases. It's right there in bills in front of Congress. The president is doing it. He's executing American citizens with his own secret list. It's happening. And you are in exactly the same place that the founders were in 1775. That is where we are, and people understand that. I think more and more Americans are starting to realize that. Now the difficult question is then what do we do? How do we proceed? How do we stay moral? How do we stay in keeping with our oaths, and yet also defend liberty? How do we do that when the government itself has become the enemy? And I think the answer has to be in state sovereignty, and that's what the founders did. When the government that was over them was so illegitimate that they separated from it, that it was destroyed, that they destroyed the British Constitution. It was gone. They resorted back to being sovereign states, and then they erected a new government, the Articles of Confederation, and then our Constitution. So I think the same thing has to happen here. If the federal government declares war on the American people in this dang bill, we should say, okay, fine, you have destroyed the Constitution, you have destroyed the compact, we are now, again, sovereign states, we will stand on our state sovereignty. The military should then put their loyalty to the governors of the states, not to the president.
Well, by the way, they saw that 4 years ago in the John Warren Defense Authorization Act. It had language in it about the state governors, if they were insurrection, or the populations, and how they were going to make a 10-region governor deal, which they've now done. So the system is even war gamed all this out. Then the mega banks that took over the federal government has actually war gamed how to conquer us. But again, this is by people that make 40-to-1 bets with their own, with people's private accounts. I mean, they're nuts. I mean, they're crazy like a fox, but still they're nuts.
Well, they still have that Achilles heel. The weakness still is that they're relying upon U.S. servicemen and women to obey their orders. And if we can show them the proper course, which is to put their allegiance at the, I mean, if the federal government, you know, destroys the Constitution completely, which it almost is right now, then they should put their loyalty, I don't want to say military coup, that'd be very dangerous. They should put their loyalty to the states. Just like Washington never established himself as the new king, he was subordinate and obedient to the Revolutionary Congress. That's who he obeyed the orders of. Always the military was subservient to the civil power. The same thing will have to happen. Even in the midst of a revolution, the military must not take upon itself the power to govern the people. They must be subordinate to, you know, at least the civilian leadership.
Amazing. All right, Stuart Rose, oathkeeper.org. We'll be talking to you more in the future as they try to pass torture bills, secret arrest bills. We need to really get a hold of the Senate right now, though, because there's been so many psyops. First they said this wasn't in there, then no, we've passed it, but they hadn't. They're really pulling out the stops to try to get this, and we need to contact the Senate and let them know that we're aware of their criminal activity and that everybody's going to campaign against them and speak out against them and more. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Alex.
Wow. Folks, they're moving to censor the internet in 100 different ways. We've covered it. We've talked about it. They're moving to try to shut down domains for no reason, internet kill switches, all of that, because these criminals know they're in trouble. And that's what's so dangerous about them, is that they've committed so many crimes and given energy companies $500 million that they knew they never used, and guns to Mexico and everything. That think of what they'll do next. I'll tell you, it's going to be staged terror blamed on domestic groups. So that's why I say never offensive violence, because they need that. They use that to look like the victim as an excuse to attack the public. I almost go with the Gandhi view at the first phases, that imagine if they blow up and burn down some more churches, how that'll boomerang against them. But I understand it's immoral to let them do that. It's just that from a psychological warfare position, using the truth, I see about taking more of their abuse as really discrediting them. And next time I talk to Stuart, we'll talk about that. I mean, it's a wider debate. Or is that a cowardly delusion? Well, it's not a cowardly delusion, or we wouldn't even be here talking about this. We'd be here serving the evil and cuddling up to it. It's just that once the genie's out of the bottle, these globalists are going to sit offshore while the American people kill each other. I want to try to avert violence as long as we can, and I want to avert the globalist staging events like they've done to try to demonize those of us that are awake to their criminal activity. So we've got to be, wise as serpents and peaceful as doves. But and again, like you said with the Solzhenitsyn situation, you cannot let them drag you and your family off to the FEMA camp when you've done nothing wrong. I mean, they're trying to train you now to pepper spray in the face and taser you to death and beat you in the head for no reason. And they now say that even if the baton bounces off your head, that's a form of assault. I'm serious. You're not allowed to cover your face when they're kicking you. That's assault. I mean, it's becoming sick. And, you know, these cops and people will be judged by having their future destroyed by the globalist. But still, that's not enough. We'd rather wake them up. And we'll try. We'll try. But this corruption is surpassing all reason. We're going to come back with another interview in this extended edition of Infowars Nightly News, PrisonPlanet.tv. You are living history right now, ladies and gentlemen. Don't say you weren't warned. If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the Infowars store at Infowars.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe Infowars t-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at Infowars.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help